body. We can thank God for our loved ones and the interesting new people we meet. Thank God for a livelihood and skills and curiosity and the ability to learn new things. Or thank God for the faith to boldly proclaim divine abundance. We can thank God for sunrises and sunsets, polka dots and moonbeams, the autumn leaves of red and gold. Remember, the scripture says, in everything, give thanks. So we thank God for helping us overcome and go and grow through trial after trial in our adventurous life journeys. And most of all, we thank God for a closer relationship with it. Now let's spend a few moments in the silence with smiles of gratitude and some of your personal thank you list. Now bringing that zeal back into the room, we remember, no matter what shows up, we count it all joy and say, thank you, God. Namaste, y'all.
If you will, I invite you to stay right there just for a few moments with me so that we can plug in together. Sacred text says that there are 12 tribes in Israel, metaphorically speaking, representing the 12 months of the year. Book of Revelation says that in the presence of God, the kingdom of God, that there are 24 elders that sit around the throne of God. Under their feet, it's a table of glass. 24 elders, we say, are 12 tribes and the 12 apostles. But metaphorically speaking, the 24 elders that govern our lives are the 24 hours we have in a day. They are the mystics and messengers that are within us, our internal alarm clocks that guide us into the life that we live. And so, as we have collectively decided to take a portion of our time and come together, I invite you to sit in your place of power, to continue to sit in your place of power. Allow the circumstances of your life to come before you and recognize that although changes may happen, things may arise within your mind, body, that there is something that there is to you that remains. There are things in life sometimes be difficult to see, but being able to hold the gaze, and when it all passes by, there is a presence that has remained. And We call that presence God, we call that presence life, but ultimately that presence is you. There is not a spot where God is not, so God must be you too. C. Allen Anderson says, you are exactly where God was when God became you. So you are never late, you are always on time, and you are mostly on time when you are yourself. In this moment, with me, feel you becoming more of your essential self. More of the good qualities that you don't have to pay for, that you don't have to buy, that you don't have to beg. Feel those qualities innately within you. Love and judgment, James and John, the sons of thunder. If you will, place one hand in the middle of your chest and stomach. It's the seat of your nervous system. When you feel the thundering and the lightning kick in, when love beckons you forward, judgment provides wisdom so that love is controlled. Your compassion for your life and for your family, the things that you have in your heart, feel your nervous system aligning itself with that vision, knowing that everything is coming to pass, that we are in tune with the infinite, we are trusting our process, and we are being infinitely guided by the presence of life, that all is becoming well. And if you will, take a deep breath with me in through the nose. Release the sound of letting go of the weight of the world. Knowing that when you let go, the world can know itself. And you can bring solutions to the many answers that arise in the world. And so it is. So it is. If you will, rub your hands together. Let's send this healing energy to those that watch online. Say this with me: divine love in us blesses and multiplies all that you hear and all that you see. Know in this moment you are safe and loved, and so it is. Our ministry is supported by all of you that tune in every week online, our dear partners. Moderators are always on standby also for those of you that have questions and wish to dialogue with us. Wherever you see this message, either Facebook, YouTube, or our website, post your comment in the chat box below, before or after the service, and we will hold you and your family in the highest of prayers. And for those that tune in, again, remember to log on to unitybham.org and click on giving or text your best gift at the conclusion of this service, and we will also be blessed by your giving. For those that are in-house, that are in need of prayer support, we have our prayer chaplains spread around the room. Put your hands together for all of our prayer chaplains. So it is. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
It is a blessing to be in community, to be among the living. I was reading something this morning, and it dawned on me in sacred text, whenever the presence of God would greet a new prophet or a new teacher or a new prophetess or a new spiritual leader, the presence of God would intuit to them that I am the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And I always wondered, why would it be Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob? Long after they had transitioned, because the presence of life is the God of the living and not of the dead. So wherever you go, wherever I go, wherever we go, there's a host of people that are always with us, even during those times where we feel most alone, most confused, most concerning about the nature of life, the nature of the world. Sometimes you just have those questions budding in your mind. I know I do sometimes. Is it all going to work out? And it's questions that everyone has always had, as long as people have been on the planet. But the beautiful thing is we get to come together in community every week, and we don't have to answer those questions by ourselves. And for the ones that we don't see, the presence of life is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the God of Susie and Mary and Martha, the God of grandparents and great-grandparents who are no longer here, the God of family members. What the Apostle Paul says that we are surrounded by a great cloud of witnesses that we can see and those that we can't see. So when you tune into the infinite, you are tuning into an infinite supply of adjutants, of supporters, an infinite supply, influencers of fans, an infinite supply of those that have your back, so that when an answer doesn't come to you, there is an entire infinite sea of individuals who may not have bodies. For to be absent in the body is to be present with the spirit. So when God shows up, God brings a few people with it. When the presence of life shows up, life doesn't come alone. So for those of you that find yourself dealing with loneliness, no, you are not by yourself, especially as fall kick in and we move through the Jason months, the July, August, September, October, and November. And if you remember anything about your Greek mythology, Jason brought the energy home. Jason defeated the thing that Jason was battling, and everything worked out in the end. So as the weather changes and things are no longer bright and sunny, things change and things fall to the ground, which is why we call it fall. Know that everything that falls and falls away becomes the foundation for something new again. Say this with me: go to pieces, without falling apart. Beautiful thing about life is we don't have to hold on to things. We don't have to hold on to ideas. We don't have to hold on to seasons. For the things that we hold on to are there because of our support. So when we let go, things stand on their own. We may not like the stand or the stance they take. We've seen the news lately. Right? But they stand on their own, and then we have a chance to watch them grow and engage with them. And through that engagement, that solution-focused energy, life happens, and we reach agreement and common ground, and the circle and the cycle of life continues on. It's a grand story when you look at it from the pulpit. When you look at it from the eyes of God. I know preachers sound like they have it all figured out. But if you really listen deeply and closely to a message, it's actually a series of questions. The design of the message on Sunday morning isn't to tell you what to think, it's to teach you how to think. And to show you that while you are thinking, I am there. Whoever's on the pulpit, they're thinking right along with you. And through that process, our lived experience, what we call in education, phenomenology. Say this big word with me, phenomenology. So if anybody comes to you and they try to act smart, just tell them to use the 2-cent word. That one will do. In our lived experience, we work out the details. What are you saying, preacher? I'm glad you asked. I'm saying that everything works out. We just have to trust our process. And watching life change for me is always inspiring as a July baby. Because I was born during the dog days of summer, and then watching fall come in, and the weather in the South, not really fight to hold on to itself. In the South we do. We get multiple seasons throughout the week, let alone throughout the year. But things fall away and they become the foundation for good soil. The leaves fall and we blow them off. Get off of my grass. And we put them around the tree. And then all the grass and the beautiful things around trees die because we cover it with leaves. But that falling away is necessary. Everything in life is useful. You ever notice that? Life uses everything from photosynthesis, the light from the sun absorbed by the plants, the life that the trees gives us. Everything is interconnected. And without our intervention, things carry on by themselves. So for those of you that find yourself carrying the weight of the world, I gotta tell you, you're doing someone else's job. You're doing someone else's job. Life takes care of itself. So instead of being a conductor of life, join the band. Pick up an instrument. Join the band. Participate in what's unfolding. You might find that it's not as scary as it seems. Everything looks scary from the outside. So when you find yourself afraid and alone and unsure, perhaps you're not really seeing things Clearly, I know I've been there. I was there last night with some things rummaging through my mind, and then finally I had to find Star Trek and then let myself go. Just now you know my secret weapon. Say this with me: live long, prosper. Yes. Yes. You can clap for that. Yes. Yes. Captain Picard puts me to sleep at night, him and Worf. Yeah. They just carry me right on off to another dimension. But life goes on, and the beautiful thing about that story, they are an exploratory vessel. They're not even designed for war. They have pulsars and phasars and all of these weapons, and most episodes they never even use it, which shows us that sometimes we're just too tough. We're too mean. We carry too much. We're ready for a fight because we've had to fight all our lives. I gotta tell you, life isn't designed for fighting. Life is designed for living. It's for living. And so when we adjust, you can't put new wine in old skins. That's the hard part. That also affects church attendance. Churches would be packed out if we would teach fighting and military strategy. After all, our sacred text is tons of military words. When Jesus went to cast out the demons, who are you? My name is Legion, for we are many. You know, all of these militaristic terms. The name of the Lord is a strong tower, right? It's a military base. The righteous run in, Sadiq, and are saved and safe, right? But life isn't designed like that. The harshness that comes out of life that we hear, it comes from the lived experience of the people, but the ones that are doing the living are the most quiet. Why? Because they are living life, right? So if you find yourself in the middle of a fight, just know you're standing on the periphery of what life has to offer. There's some beauty right in the heart of the matter, right? When you stare into the darkness, your eyes adjust. I know I sound like a bunch of one-liners this morning. but my point is, things are not always as they seem to be. I learned that hanging out in DC for a little bit. I was surprised at the number of people that were working together. It was like competitive sports. When you turn on the television and there's cameras, everybody has their specific side and their team that they have to represent. But behind closed doors, those staffers, those folks on the Hill who actually are the linchpins between offices, sometimes running back and forth across campus, literally 25 minutes sometimes to get from one building to the next. And fun fact, the cheapest place to eat are actually within the campus itself. So you go there and you see all the celebrities eating cafeteria food. It's like things are never as they seem. My point is that all things are working together for your good. We can look out in life and see it, right? The sun should be combating against the moon, right? The weather should be fighting against what appears to be a barrier, but the trees just sit there and they receive it. And like I said last week, nothing in life grows straight. Everything in life is differently able. So for all of our disability politics and our disability theology that we're still working to get right in ministry, because after all, if you're sick, it must be something that you've done. You didn't pray right. You didn't affirm right. In the words of one of my new teachers, she says that my body is not a prayer request. Differently able is still divinely kept. You are still made in the image and likeness of God. And if we look at everything in the world, nothing grows straight, but yet it doesn't complain because it too is valuable. What I'm doing this month, is I'm laying the foundation to change our collective awareness about how we see life, which is why this month's power is zeal. So this morning, as I was doing some final thoughts about the message, I was like, zeal. It's like, oh yeah, I understand what that is. There's an essence in life that's waiting to be tapped, and it comes alive when we get our favorite things. But what about those times in life where we don't get our favorite things, right? We just learned that too is a part of life. We call it the vicissitudes of life. Things come and they go. People call you and sometimes they don't call you. People have time and don't have time. The seasons change. But there is a consistency, the heart of life, and that consistency is you, which means that you have the potential and the power to be the difference maker, to see life as being on your side, as seeing things not being against you. To reiterate a militaristic quote from sacred text, no weapon formed against you shall prosper, and every tongue that rises in judgment God shall condemn. You know why the weapons don't prosper? Because they don't really exist. We don't really occupy as much space and attention in other people's minds as we think we do sometimes. You know, if you were really tap into what people are thinking, they're worried about their digestive system, whether or not, it's time to go and have a movement, whether or not it's time to go and pay the bills. Most of the time as a speaker, I got to tell you, that's why people are disgruntled. They're filled with gas. So I've learned, Terry Cole Whitaker, what you think about me is none of my business. It's a private matter. And if it becomes public, I have the choice to respond to it or not. But unless it aligns with who I actually am, I really don't respond to it at all because it's not the real me. And that's true for all of us. So our first goal as spiritual people is to see things right, to see love as the fundamental core of human life, to see that the arc of justice bends towards love. And the reason why it does so, it does it naturally, but it does take your buy-in to see that. So bell hooks, that we come together in church so that in community we can learn to develop and till the heart to carry the calling. This is the place where we get things done, and the things that we are getting done is we are getting all the gunk out. The stuff that we've developed over time because we've had to fight and push our way through life, right? That harshness, we come together in community to explore different ways of living, right? So this month's theme is the word passion. Say this with me, passion. To go ahead and give the game away, I like to look at the 12 powers and then right-click synonyms in Microsoft Word. So passion is the same thing. That way I stay aligned. So if you want to know what I'm talking about, look at the theme from the 12 powers. You'll be right in there. You'll figure it out. Today's topic is what's calling me? What's calling me? Say this with me. What's calling me?
What's calling me?
Yeah. Before we can even explore that, I just had to lay some foundation to talk about right seeing, because I do believe it's our job to see things right? To see things in a way that's solution focused and solution oriented, to recognize that life really is on your side. And that when you are feeling the winds and the harshness of life, either one, you're in the wrong room, or two, you're standing on the periphery. It's not the truth of life. The truth of life is love. For God so loved the world, God gave its only begotten, right? And you are the son of God. God only had one child, and that's you, and that's you, that's you, that's all of you. One sound, one song. That's why we call it the universe, right? We see division when we split it into two. The Garden of Eden, same story. There weren't multiple trees in the garden. There was only one tree. Division creeped in our hearts, and we saw a multiplicity. And then wisdom teachings tell us that all the trees in the garden are good for fruit, meaning all the truths or trees in the world are good for fruit. When we see life right, it changes how we show up in the world. We see potential in people, right? Instead of their mistakes, right? Imagine a world where we only saw each other's mistakes, right? It will be difficult to get anything done. And it takes power. Power, we call it the presence of life, the presence of God, to look past all of the stuff and see the world is already free. The hard part is letting go, because sometimes that freedom that needs to come can't come by way of us. What if the nature of your freedom is determined whether or not we continue to have this relationship? Meaning that you might do better with someone else. It's a hard one, right? Where you recognize that you're not the conductor, you're a part of the band. So you're here to walk each other home. And at the point at which there is disagreement, Paul says, may the Lord watch between me and thee while we're absent one from another. No strings attached. We let the world go. The hard part about letting the world go is all of the investment that we've made in it. But we have to realize we're living this life not for celebrity. We're not doing this for applause. We're doing this to leave the world better than we found it as we wrestle with living in a reality called today so that our children can live in a reality that we call tomorrow. That's the work. And those kinds of things, it sets us right so that when we tune into what's speaking to us, we can hear the true voice as opposed to those impulses and other drives that lead us astray. They taught us in seminary that whenever you talk about these 12 powers, and all of those, that they always come together in couplets. Love goes with judgment, James and John, the sons of thunder, or Peter, James, and John, faith, love, and judgment, because they all come together. Which is why I began this morning's affirmative prayer with the quote from Charles Fillmore that everything we need from God, we already have. Right? So it changes the nature of prayer. What's the point of praying if everything you need you already have? What are we praying for and who are we praying to? They love to ask us that in seminary. Why are you closing your eyes? What you looking for? You looking at what you're looking at, right? At least know what you're looking at when you're doing it. Right? Question everything. Reverend Ike used to say, prayers are what I say about myself to myself. Some say, oh, that's selfish. It's not, because when you understand there's only one self and that self is God, prayer is God talking to itself, reminding it of who it is. You put your hands in there for that. It's the truth. So the work that we do is reminding ourselves of who we are day in and day out, so that while we are in the world, we're not of the world per se. And all that means is it's not the bypass. It means that there's a different set of conditioning that we condition ourselves with so we can give it back to the world rightfully so, as opposed to absorbing the energy from the world, the fear, doubt, the negation, the negativity, the infighting. Don't breathe that in. In the words of Michael Beckwith, as you move out into life, take your own oxygen with you. Take love with you. Take compassion with you. Take the best of humanity with you. And even if that means you have to take a break and come back, take a break and make a commitment to come back to the table. Don't sit this one out. When things don't go your way, don't pack up your little toys and go home and say, nobody will play with me. Well, I don't want to play with anybody else. I'm mad, right? We waste the gift that life has given us. You know how I know when I walk into a room, even if there's frustration, that God is there? Because people are breathing. The presence of God is life, and if that's what you have to tune into, you start there. And many times it's actually good to start there, because we have to remind ourselves that this is the most important piece, and then from there we can connect everything together and we can find common ground. Now, where does passion tie into all of this? Compassion is actually compacted passion. That's all it is. It's passion that has come together and wound real tight. So even the most tense of disagreements, the arguing and the fighting, that's still compassion. It's love twisted and tied up. So when you find that, or you walk into a room where that exists, my ask is that you unbound the chains of love within yourself first. And when you see people and see the world as already free, you can speak to those capacities that are within them. Because you never know what's speaking and what's calling to people, right? It could be capitalism. It could be, I got to get mine. I got to get it by any means necessary. I'm thinking about my house. I'm thinking about me. And those are their drivers, and they've worked for them. But these kind of things that I'm talking about, these innate spiritual qualities, they're the things that when you reach the top of the pyramid, or the heights of success, or the heights of Maslow, whichever system you look at, that self-actualization, they're the things that really matter, because the stuff at the bottom of the pyramid, although they are necessary to who we are as people, they're not enough for our survival. It's like, how much money do you want? Like Mr. Krabs, money, money, money. Like SpongeBob SquarePants, I'm showing my age. Right? It's like, how much do you want? How much power do you want? How much influence do you want, right? How many times in your relationship do you want to be right? Can they be right once? Can you give them credit once? No, what we do is when they're right, we just don't say nothing back. You better take this while you can. It only lasts for a certain amount of time. Right? But the spiritual work, all of the work, is us. Let it begin with me. Say this with me. Let it begin with me. With me. Because passion is a beautiful thing. Passion and desire are the same words. Captain Ponder used to say desire means of the Father. Right? Charles Fillmore says desire is the thing that goes forward. It's the activity and the presence of God that is within you. So the dreams that you have in your heart, they're actually good, but sometimes our approach in getting things done. Well, I want there to be peace in the house, so I'm going to force it, right? Well, I have chronic anxiety, and they know I have anxiety and sensory issues, but they're making all that noise, and so I go and try to control the situation to balance out my nervous system. What we need as spiritual people, honestly, are behavioral modifications, that's all. And our spiritual practice, we call them practices because ultimately they are. They teach us ways to be with ourselves, and then they teach us how to be with other people. And once you learn those two things, everything else works itself out. Because you've learned how to be in the world and be a beacon of light, to be a place and space of peace and refuge. For many of us that leave these churches and these buildings, we're the only church that some people will ever see because they'll never walk through a church door. You are, believe it or not, the God, the only physical God that some people will ever see, will ever acknowledge. They can't see God, but they can see you. They can see what comes out of our mouths, what comes out of our hearts, how we behave. And this message isn't one to beat us up, but it's to call our attention to who we are as we are navigating our own human stuff, because we all have our human stuff too. This is a wake-up call to bring consciousness to who we are so that we can be a better blessing in the world, especially when we take note of all of the people that have poured into us to help us to get to who and what we are. So when we see the rattling and things like that and people not doing what they're supposed to do, right, it would be within us as humans to grab them and say, hey, do the right thing, right? When what we need to do is just be patient, because there's some things that they just have to learn on their own. So we be with them and don't neglect them in their process, right? We allow our passion to turn into compassion, right? Not wrapped where love is enchained, right? But we free love and we free people and we say, you know what? I'm going to stay right here while you do what you do. If you need anything, call me. I'm not going to abandon you. Say this with me. We're all walking each other home. So of course, don't abandon yourself when you don't live up to your own expectations. But definitely don't abandon one another when they behave unseemingly. That's what scripture and sacred text and sacred reading calls us to. It calls us into right relationship. First with ourselves and then with one another. That's why Jesus would send the disciples out together, because he wanted them to figure out how to get along. How can you influence people when you can't figure out how to get along with one person? Right? Figure out how to get along with that one. But what do we do when there's pushback? Shake the dust off your feet and keep moving, is what Jesus said. In other words, don't take it personal. It's just people doing the best they can with what they have. Show them the answer to the stuff of the world is you do better. Show them. Well, they're not looking at me. No, but your neighbors are looking at you. The people in your house are looking at you. And how you respond to this moment will be a defining point in someone else's eyes that's probably a few years younger than you. We are living this life again to give to the world so that those who are coming behind us can have a better world and will know how to navigate. And for the things in your life that you don't know, it's okay. You can walk into the mystery. It's okay to be questioning and to waver back and forth. It shows that you are looking for an answer. My invitation is to keep looking. If the answer doesn't come today, look again. If the answer doesn't come tomorrow, keep looking. And before you know it, there'll be a rain cloud that'll come and it'll provide the answer that you're looking for. Or to reiterate sacred text, weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. And there's always a morning that comes after that uncomfortable period. So again, I'm calling us all into right relationships so that we can begin to adopt the eyes of life, to see life from the perspective of God, or to quote the Buddhist tradition, to see everyone as your grandmother. And if you didn't have a good relationship with your grandmother, see everyone as your great-great-great-grandmother. Why? Because you didn't physically know her, so you can imagine her as being good. It makes it less difficult for me to abandon you, right? Emerson said, don't look at that child and think it's a child. That child is 1,000 years old. That life in you is precious. So since we're short on time, I'll go ahead and wrap this up. I want to point your attention to a passage of scripture in the book of Exodus, associated with Moses. It's the story of the burning bush, to give the game away. The story itself is dated somewhere around the 14th and a half century. But it's a beautiful story that we all know, and it speaks to me a lot. But I saw something interesting in it this week as I was preparing for the lesson. In the third chapter, first through the first couple of verses, sacred text says that Moses was minding his business, tending sheep for his father Jethro. And it reminded us, or reminded me, because I'm us, it reminded me, I'm speaking code, two persons, that there are things in life that sometimes grab our attention. And even though there's stuff going on in the world, sometimes we get concerned with our own way of doing. We all agree to that because it's what I said earlier. Moses is tending the flock as one would when they're working a job and doing their regular old thing. And he decided to take the sheep to the backside of the desert. He took them to a different spot so that they would continually be grazing in the same spot. Because after all, to do the same thing over and over again and expect a different result is the definition of insanity, right? And that speaks volumes. So if you find that the solutions you're applying to the stuff of your life isn't working out, try something different. Move to a different location. Sometimes you literally have to relocate. Maybe they'll hear you better from a different angle, or hear you better from a different city. And if there's problems in the house, maybe you need a different house. They'll hear you better from across the street. We can't get along, let me move into the next room. If that don't work, let me move down the street. If that don't work, I'll move an hour away. Let me stop. If you hear me and you resonate, that one is for you. So Moses sees this burning bush, and it calls to him and it speaks to him. And that part struck me in the story, because Moses in that story had the courage to look into the fire and hear the voice of God. Isn't that beautiful? That he peered into the fire and heard God. When you think about all of the things that we see, all the trouble that we see sometimes, all the worry, the doubt, the confusion, to be able to look into the fire and hear the voice of God. That's the core of the message, the things that speak to us. It's important to do this work because we are training our minds, training our nervous system, training our eyes, training our ears, and spiritual practice is a lesson in skillfulness. Some days we get it right, other days we don't. Don't beat yourself up, keep trying. But Moses peered into the fire and heard God. And the first thing that God said was, take your shoes off, for the place where you stand is holy. In other words, you're supposed to be here. The reason why you're seeing it is because you're supposed to do something about it. The desires and the intents that you have in your heart, they're not for naught. Moses takes off his shoes, and the first thing that the presence of God does is introduces itself. It says that my name is I am that I am, which speaks to self-identity, which is another reminder of this work. That we have to do this stuff because it changes our core, right? And when we change inwardly, it changes what we see. So to bring this message to a close, for the things in your life that you have to stare into, when they're good, congratulations. But when they're not so good, don't be afraid. The presence of life is shaping you and molding you. And the fires that you have to stare into, though they may be ugly, the presence of God is also there too. How do I know? Because it is the presence of God within you that is giving you the strength to see it. My ask is that you bring that into the solution. Thank you for listening. Our offering. For those that tune in online, remember to log on to unitybham.org and click on giving, or text your best gift at the number that appears on your screen momentarily. For those that give in-house, our ushers are making their way forward to collect the offering while Adana takes us away.
Somebody hold me too close. Somebody hurt me too deep. Somebody sit in my chair and ruin my sleep and make me aware of being alive. Being alive. Somebody need me too much. Somebody know me too well. Somebody pull me up short and put me through hell and give me support for being alive. Make me alive. Make me alive. Make me confused. Let me with praise. Let me be used. Vary my days, but alone is alone. Not alive. Somebody crown me with love. Somebody force me to care. Somebody make me come through. I'll always be there, as frightened as you, to help us survive. Being alive. Being alive. Being alive.
Yes. If you will, let's bless the offering. Point your hands in this direction. Say this with me. We bless this offering, affirming it will be used for the building of this ministry. We bless the givers, and we declare their gifts will return back to them with good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. And so it is. Put your hands together one more time.
If we could all stand for Let There Be Peace on Earth.
Let it be
prayer of protection. The light of God surrounds us.
I am the light of God.
The love of God enfolds us.
I am the love of God.
The power of God protects us.
I am the power of God.
The presence of God watches over us.
I am the presence of God.
Wherever we are, God is.
Wherever I am, God is, and
All is well. Thank you much.
Transmute something. It was just my body. But it was your tooth.